My name is GJ DePillis, and I'm an analyst. You know what that means? I sit in a cubicle all day long. After 5, I want to be outside. But my backyard is so plain and kind of harsh. So what I want to do is transform it. I want to do something, make the place look nice, have it grow food, and invite people over to entertain afterwards. I'm going to bring in some other people and transform my backyard into something that's fun to do after 5. I need to start a victory garden. A victory garden is something that started and was promoted with the slogan of Dig for Victory back in World War II, and it was encouraging people to actually have food in their backyards. Now, why would they need food? Because everything was rationed during the war. Food was rationed because about 70% of the food was imported from places like into England, but here in the United States we had a little bit more self-sufficiency. They actually promoted victory gardens in a big way. So I wanted to build one, and I actually started a couple of years ago. Before I started, I wanted to analyze what sort of soil I had to see what I had to deal with. I went to websoilsurvey.nrcs.usda.gov and found out that the plot of land that we're on actually is about half and half of Cinnabus sandy loam and Fallbrook sandy loam. They are mixed with granite, which is on 20 to 40 inches of bedrock, and it is very hard. You can take a pickaxe and try and get in there, and it's going to be tough to dig. You either have to water the ground for a few days before you start digging, or you have to get an auger in order to try and drill down. You'll need a couple of strong guys to help you operate that. So after I went to Web Soil Survey and I realized that we have this thing in Riverside that spikes up to over 120 degrees in some summers, and that's the end of June, all of July and August, I had to figure out how am I going to do this with the heat, with the hard soil, with just with the drought situation that we're in. About 70% of California is under a severe drought or a very dry situation. So I need to have a drip system, and I need to have vegetables. I tried to start it off with railroad ties. I went down to my local home improvement store and I got railroad ties. Then I found out that railroad ties actually had creosote in it. To make creosote, in order to preserve the wood, you have tar as a byproduct and pitch. Now, the EPA actually has classified it as a carcinogen, so it not only can cause respiratory problems, it can cause skin irritations, but it can also cause cancer. I don't think I want any of that near my vegetables. So I am about to go through a master gardener advice program where I actually called a master gardener and sent pictures of my area to say what was wrong with this. I got some great feedback, and so now this winter I am going to undergo an improvement project where I'm going to rip out all of my mistakes and try and replace it with something really good so that I can grow a fresh crop of vegetables. Let me show you what's wrong with my garden. I have 2 beds set up. They both have these 9x9 railroad ties, and with the width of the railroad ties, it makes each bed about 10 feet end to end. The soil is very dry and crumbly. It's not a healthy soil at all. I have set up these spaghetti lines, which I put in with staples that you can do to anchor it. So there was plenty of water getting here, but the type of soil didn't lend well to yummy vegetables. The carrots that I grew became very squashed and ugly. They were wooden, and primarily it was because of the way that the soil was behaving. Now I had amended it and I added some chicken manure, but that wasn't good enough. So Primarily, I'm underneath this pepper tree, and the pepper tree, if I can just show you, has these leaves and these little pepper things which just seem to kill everything. It doesn't let the light in. It's too acidic for the soil, and it's not very friendly for vegetables. So that's one thing that's going to be wrong. As you can see, my tomatoes are barely growing. Here I've got some tomatoes which I just picked off the last one. And this is the type of harvest that I have. So we're going to try and change this. Let me show you what else is wrong. The last time I went down to the home improvement store, I picked up these rebar sticks, which I guess are used for reinforcing concrete. I drove them into the ground here, put some twisty tie wire around along with some string in order to trap climbing vines like sweet peas. And I got an initial growth, and I even have some residual sweet pea branches, but again, they died. Everything died. This is my compost box. So I got it, I put it together, and the kitchen scraps go in here. Compost in here has eggshells and carrot stalks from my wooden carrots, some old pomegranates, some banana leaves. But the problem is that because I can't turn it, cobwebs start growing. That might mean black widows. Black widows are bad. Nobody wants them in the garden, and I can't spray my compost. So the best way to get around that is to get one that turns. So I'm going to have to investigate that and see what I can come up with. Okay, so why do I have plates on this tree? Well, when I had it in pots, I had it underneath a larger shade tree, and it was growing beautifully. So it was nice and tall. It was this height, and I decided I'm going to put it in the ground. Dug a hole in this hard Mars-like ground, and it got sunburned. As you can see, when I take this off, these little black marks were healthy branches that suddenly got seared in the sun. And I realized, even with this stake, I have a stake on here which should have been taken off. The stake acts as a crutch, which means that if the wind blows, the tree is never going to build its own trunk strength in order to withstand the elements, and it really needs that. So one of the things I need to do is go around and remove my stakes. The other problem that's with this tree is the fact that it is in such compact ground. When I water it at its base, the water doesn't drain. But as you can see, the water is stagnant because the soil is so compact, there's absolutely no drainage. I've driven holes down there, and I'm getting these, what are they, cattails or something, moss. I might even be getting some larvae. We have to come out here and either mix this up, or we have to put bleach in it or something to improve the drainage. One option that I was given was to take an auger and drive down through the bedrock about 4 feet in order to make some holes. So just little holes that are 4 feet deep in order to force drainage on this. One thing that I thought was kind of interesting was when the tree removal guys came. Did I get a good lesson from one of them about trimming things back to the main lateral branches in order to prevent browning and dead branches on the tree edges.
When you do it straight up from where the homeowner wants it, it's kind of tedious and harder because we try to cut it back to the lateral, that way there's not a dead stub, because if you don't have a lateral there, then the end dies off and there'll be a dead stub.
We also had to eventually move a palm tree and a couple of fig trees, put them to the side. Then we brought in someone else, and they used a neat little mini plow and made everything nice and smooth. After that, he was going to lay down some plastic and put rocks on top of it. And then we're going to finish up with some river rock along the side. I was going to put in some neat little solar tulips on the edges. And then in a couple of months, we'll see some actual tulips that were planted later on to trim the edges of the path. And the root system that sort of networks in from the tulip bulbs is actually going to help with the erosion during heavy rain season on the banks.
Okay, what we're doing here is we're leveling out the area in order to accommodate 2 raised planters. The ground has to be somewhat level, but we don't want it to have fall. We actually want it to fall back slightly into the slope so the planters don't dry out due to siphon effect from the water. We're going to have a 2-foot walk space around each of the planters in order to access the planters. There's going to be a pathway coming up the side here that's going to allow access to the side planter and to the front walkway in order to access the rest of the planters. Beyond the tree stand here, we are going to have 2 or 3 raised planters, and that's going to be a more level area. That area once accommodated a pepper tree, so we had to remove some roots and do some excavating to get compaction. And then we will be installing the pathway and the raised beds with the pathway joining between the raised beds, and that's pretty much it.
My name is Gigi DePillis, and I'm an analyst.